During oral argument this week in a case called 303 Creative, which threatens to undermine the rights of LGBTQ people in our economy to not be discriminated against, Justice Alito joked about black children dressing up in KKK costumes. His remarks caused many Americans to question his mental fitness. But even before his antics this week, Americans had reason to question his integrity. On November 19th, the New York Times published a bombshell report describing credible allegations that Justice Alito leaked both the outcome and the authorship of the court's 2014 opinion in Hobby Lobby to Gail and Don Wright of Centerville, Ohio. The Wrights were far-right donors to the Supreme Court Historical Society who were actually secret operatives for a radical anti-abortion group called Faith in Action. The mission of the Wrights and other operatives trained by Faith in Action was to ingratiate themselves with those justices who proved amenable, the Alitos, the Thomases, the Scalias, go figure, in order to influence Supreme Court decisions. The president of Faith in Action, who I'm grateful is testifying today, the former president, at the time called those operatives stealth missionaries. And their strategy worked. The Wrights became close friends of the Alitos and they dined in each other's homes. Sam and Martha Ann Alito even vacationed with Gail and Don Wright at their home in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which sounds incredible, by the way. I've never gone skiing in Jackson Hole. In clear evidence that Hobby Lobby, the results specifically, had been leaked and the author of it had been leaked, the New York Times described several contemporaneous emails and conversations from 2014, which confirmed that today's key witness, Reverend Schenck, was indeed aware of the outcome of the Hobby Lobby opinion and the identity of its author. The only way he could have known this is if Justice Alito had indeed leaked this information to Gail and Don Wright. That is common sense. And Justice Alito's hypocrisy, as well as the hypocrisy of some of my colleagues on this committee today, astounds me. It astounds me. And that is because in October of this year, while speaking at an event commissioned by the right-wing Heritage Foundation, Justice Alito referred to the leak of his draft opinion in Dobbs as a, quote, great betrayal of trust. A great betrayal of trust. Will Justice Alito use these same words to describe his own leak of the Supreme Court's decision in Hobby Lobby? And with this new information, why should any of us believe that he wasn't the person who leaked the Dobbs opinion? Again, more likely than not, given the evidence that we have before us. Justice Alito went on to say that, quote, someone crosses an important line when they say that the court is acting in a way that is illegitimate, and that he did not think anyone in a position of authority, quote, should make that claim lightly. Well, Justice Alito, your conduct as a member of the Supreme Court is directly responsible for the American public increasingly viewing the Supreme Court, unfortunately, as illegitimate. Keep up what you're doing. It's making a difference, Justice Thomas told Reverend Schenck. Reverend Schenck, thank you for your candor today. I know this has been very difficult, and you wouldn't be the first witness who my Republican colleagues have cast unfair aspersions on, but it's still shocking to hear some of the things that they're saying about you today and that they have said about you today, because you were just their friend a few years ago in their eyes. What do you think Justice Thomas meant when he said that it's making a difference, the work that you were doing?
The context of that, Congressman, was the work I had been doing introducing the individuals I refer to as stealth missionaries into the life of the court. I saw Justice Thomas in the hallway of the court, and he made a point to signal to me, and he said, keep up your good work. It's making a difference. The context of that was what we had been doing at the court for, at that stage, nearly 17 years.
And indeed, that work is described in great detail in the New York Times reporting by Jody Cantor and others. In the limited time I have left, I would just make the following observation. This committee has requested time and time again a representative from the Supreme Court to opine, to provide testimony on a variety of questions bearing on the ethics and the need for ethics reform at the court. In October 2021, the Chief Justice failed to send a representative to testify at our hearing on judicial ethics and transparency. In March of 2022, the Chief Justice failed to send a witness for this committee's hearing on workplace protections for judicial employees. And yet again, in April 2022, after other bombshell reporting regarding the violation of the recusal statute by Justice Thomas pertaining to his wife's far-right activism trying to overturn the presidential election and his continued insistence on ruling in matters relating to January 6th, the Supreme Court and Chief Justice Roberts in particular failed to send a witness.
Gentleman's
so
time
I would just conclude, Mr. Chairman, by saying that this is on Justice Roberts to finally do something about the crisis of legitimacy at the court. The buck stops with him.